The gates of Shadow Peak Palace loomed like iron teeth against the dawn sky, and Zara stood before them with nothing but the clothes on her back and a note safety-pinned to her collar like she was a package being returned to sender. Her fingers trembled as she touched the paper. She didn't need to read it again. The words had burned into her memory during the 3-day journey here. Consider this Omega, our humble tribute to the Alpha King. May she serve the crown well. Not even her name. Just this Omega. Zara wrapped her threadbare coat tighter around her plus-sized frame, though it did nothing against the cold seeping into her bones. She'd known she was worthless to her birth pack. They'd made that clear every single day of her 23 years. But being literally delivered to the Alpha King's doorstep like unwanted goods was a new low. A movement caught her eye. High in the castle's north tower, someone was watching her. Crimson eyes, glowing like embers in the pre-dawn darkness. The Alpha King himself. Zara's wolf whimpered inside her, torn between the instinct to submit and the urge to run. But there was nowhere to run to. Her pack had made certain of that. And everyone knew what happened to wolves without a pack. The gates groaned open. Well? A sharp voice cut through the morning air. A beta in royal livery stood in the entrance, his lip curled in distaste as he looked her up and down. Are you coming or not? The king doesn't like to be kept waiting. Here we go, Zara thought. Rejection number. What are we up to now? 50? 100? She'd lost count years ago. The Shadow Peak throne room was everything Zara had imagined, and worse. Marble floors so polished she could see her reflection. Round face, curves that other wolves whispered about when they thought she couldn't hear. Clothes that had been mended so many times they were more patches than original fabric. Wolves in fine clothing lined the walls, their faces a mixture of curiosity and contempt. She could hear the whispers starting already. That's the tribute? You've got to be kidding. Did they send us the wrong Omega? Zara kept her eyes down, focusing on the red carpet that led to the dais, one foot in front of the other. That's all she had to do. Get through this presentation. Accept whatever menial position they offered her, and survive. That's what Omegas like her did. They survived. Zara of the Clearwater Pack, the beta announced, his tone making it clear how little he thought of either her or her former pack. Offered as tribute to... Spare me the ceremony, Marcus. That voice, deep and dark as midnight, with an edge that could cut glass. Zara's eyes snapped up despite herself. She'd never been this close to an Alpha King before, never been close to any powerful Alpha really. They didn't waste their time on Omegas who looked like her. Aldrich's shadow was massive, easily 6.5 feet of pure muscle, with black hair that fell to his shoulders and those burning crimson eyes that seemed to see straight through her. His face was all hard angles and barely restrained violence. The rumours said he'd killed 17 challengers with his bare hands before his 21st birthday. Looking at him now, Zara believed every single one. What exactly am I supposed to do with you? He asked, and there wasn't an ounce of warmth in those words. Before Zara could answer, not that she had an answer, another voice cut through the throne room. Perhaps the kitchens, Your Majesty. The head beta, a silver-haired woman named Helena, stepped forward with a smile that didn't reach her eyes. We're always in need of additional help. The courtiers laughed, not loudly, but enough that Zara heard every cruel chuckle. She'd heard it all before. At pack gatherings where alphas chose their mates and walked right past her. At ceremonies where even the betas got picked and she stood alone. From her own mother, who told her at 16 that maybe if she lost some weight, someone might actually want her. Zara had stopped expecting anything different years ago. The kitchens it is then, the Alpha King started. And then they all heard it, a baby's wail, high and desperate, echoing through the palace halls. Not just crying, screaming. the sound of an infant in genuine distress. Every wolf in the room tensed. Zara watched the Alpha King's jaw tighten, watched his massive hands grip the arms of his throne until his knuckles went white. "That's the 5th nurse this week," Helena murmured to Marcus, but in the sudden silence, everyone heard. "The child won't feed, won't settle. If this continues, don't." The Alpha King's voice was pure warning. Don't finish that sentence. But Zara could feel what he wouldn't say. The baby, the royal heir, was failing, and if the heir died, the wailing intensified. Zara's wolf suddenly lurched inside her, responding to something primal and urgent. Before she could stop herself, before she could remember that omegas like her didn't speak unless spoken to, especially not to Alpha Kings, words tumbled out of her mouth. "I can help." The throne room went dead silent. Helena turned to stare at her like she'd grown a second head. "Excuse me?" "The baby," Zara said, her voice stronger now, even as her knees shook. "I can help her." "Absolutely not," Helena snapped. "You have no credentials, no training, no—" "I can nurse her." More silence. Heavier this time. The Alpha King leaned forward in his throne. "What did you say?" Zara lifted her chin. She'd already broken protocol by speaking. She might as well finish what she'd started. And that baby's cries were pulling at something deep in her chest, something she couldn't ignore. "I said I can nurse the baby, Your Majesty. She swallowed hard. "Look, no one wants a fat omega. My pack made that pretty clear when they dumped me here. But nature doesn't care about pretty. I can feed your daughter, if you'll let me try." She waited for the explosion, for the Alpha King to throw her out, or worse. She'd seen what happened to wolves who spoke out of turn to their superiors, but Aldrich's shadow just stared at her with those burning red eyes, something unreadable crossing his face. Then he spoke 2 words that changed everything. Then, "Stay." The nursery was in chaos when they arrived. A young woman in a nurse's uniform was pacing back and forth with a screaming infant, tears streaming down her own face. "I don't know what else to do," she sobbed as Helena and 2 guards escorted Zara inside. "She won't take the bottle, won't take the breast, won't—" "Give her to me," Zara said quietly. The nurse looked at Helena, who looked at the guards, who looked at each other. The baby's wails were reaching a fever pitch. "Oh, for—" Zara crossed the room and held out her arms. "Give me the baby, now." Maybe it was the authority in her voice. Maybe it was desperation. Either way, the nurse handed over the tiny bundle. Baby Lisa was smaller than Zara expected, with a shock of black hair like her father's and eyes that flickered between human blue and wolf gold. She was absolutely beautiful. She was also clearly starving. "Everyone out," Zara said, already moving to the rocking chair by the window. "Now wait, Helena started. "Out." Zara didn't know where the command came from. Omegas didn't give commands, but somehow it worked. The nurse fled. The guards stepped back. Even Helena retreated to the doorway, though her disapproving glare could have melted steel. Alone with the baby, Zara settled into the chair and adjusted her dress. "Okay, little one," she murmured. "Let's see if this works." It did. The moment Lisa latched on, the screaming stopped. The nursery fell into blessed silence, broken only by the small sounds of a hungry baby finally feeding. Zara felt tears prick her eyes. For the first time in her life, someone needed her, really needed her. Not as a servant, not as a joke, but as something essential. "There we go," she whispered, stroking the baby's soft hair. "There we go, sweetheart. I've got you." She didn't know how long she sat there. Long enough for Lissa to feed herself into a milk-drunk stupor. Long enough for the baby's breathing to even out into sleep. Long enough for Zara's omega instincts to finally quiet from their desperate screaming. But as the adrenaline faded and the reality of her situation set in, Zara became aware of something else. A scent. Faint but definitely there, clinging to the blankets in the bassinet. embedded in the very walls of this nursery. Death magic. Her blood ran cold. She'd smelled it once before, years ago, when a rival pack had tried to poison her alpha. It was a scent that didn't belong in the natural world. Something twisted, something wrong. The late queen hadn't died in childbirth. She'd been murdered. And Zara, who now held the heir to the Shadow Peak throne in her arms, had just walked into a trap she didn't understand. Footsteps in the hall, heavy, deliberate. The Alpha King was coming. Zara looked down at the sleeping baby in her arms, then at the door, her mind racing. She couldn't run. Where would she go? She couldn't speak. Who would believe a fat Omega with no status and no proof? The door opened. Aldrich's shadow filled the doorway, his crimson eyes finding her immediately. For a long moment, he just stared at her holding his daughter. Then he spoke, and his voice was rough with an emotion Zara couldn't name. "She's sleeping." "Yes, Your Majesty. She never sleeps. She does now." Another long silence. Zara's heart hammered against her ribs. She could still smell it, that hint of death magic, poison, murder. Did he know? Could he sense it too? The Alpha King stepped into the nursery, and Zara's wolf wanted to bare her throat in submission. But she had a baby in her arms, and instinct demanded she protect the child first. "What's your name?" he asked. "Your real name, not the one your pack gave you." "Zara," she whispered. "Just Zara. Just Zara." He moved closer until he stood right in front of the rocking chair. This close, she could see the exhaustion carved into his face, the grief he wore like armor. "You'll stay here, in this room, with my daughter, as long as she needs you." It wasn't a request. "Yes, Your Majesty." He reached out and Zara tensed, but he only brushed one massive finger against Lysa's tiny hand. The baby's fingers curled around his reflexively, even in sleep. "Don't make me regret this," he said quietly. Then he was gone, leaving Zara alone with the sleeping heir and the scent of secrets that could get them both killed. Chapter 2, 3 days. That's how long it took for baby Lissa to transform from a failing, screaming infant into a thriving child who smiled when Zara entered the room. Zara sat in the rocking chair, her chair now, she supposed, watching the sunrise paint the nursery in shades of gold and pink. Lissa was asleep in her arms, milk-drunk and peaceful. One tiny fist curled against Zara's chest, like she was holding on tight and never letting go. "Look at you," Zara whispered, stroking the baby's downy hair. 3 days ago, you were skin and bones. Now you've got actual chubby cheeks." It was remarkable. It was also impossible. No baby recovered this fast. Not naturally. Zara's Omega instincts hummed with satisfaction every time Lissa fed. Every time the baby's weight increased, every time those blue-gold eyes brightened with health. But underneath that satisfaction, worry gnawed at her, because Zara herself felt worse with every passing day. The exhaustion she could explain away. Caring for an infant was draining work. The headaches were probably from stress, but the nausea that rolled through her in waves, the way her hands trembled when she thought no one was watching, the bitter taste that coated her tongue after every feeding, those were harder to ignore. "Quite the little miracle worker, aren't you?" Zara's head snapped up. She hadn't heard anyone enter, but there he was, Alpha King Aldrich's shadow, standing just inside the nursery door like some dark avenging angel, or a predator watching its prey. "Your Majesty." Zara started to stand, but his hand shot out in a stopping motion. "Don't! You'll wake her." So Zara stayed where she was, acutely aware of how she must look, hair a mess, still in the same dress they'd given her 3 days ago, because no one had thought to provide her with anything else, holding the heir to the throne like she had any right to. The Alpha King moved closer. He did that a lot, she'd noticed. Appeared in the nursery at odd hours, always silent, always watching. At first she'd thought he was checking on his daughter. Now she wasn't so sure, because the way those crimson eyes tracked her every movement felt like more than paternal concern. "She's gained almost a pound," Aldrich said, his voice rough. "The physician can't explain it. He said it should take weeks, not days." "She was hungry," Zara replied simply. "She just needed the right person to feed her." Or the right omega. There was something in the way he said it, omega, that made Zara's skin prickle. Not with fear exactly, with something else, something dangerous. "I'm just doing what you commanded, Your Majesty, staying here, taking care of Lisa." "Yes." He crouched down beside the rocking chair, bringing himself to eye level with her. This close, she could see the flecks of black in his red irises, could smell cedar and winter wind and something wild. "But why does watching you with my daughter make my wolf want to?" He stopped abruptly, jaw clenching like he'd almost said something he shouldn't. "Want to what?" Zara whispered. The Alpha King stood so fast, the air displaced. "Get some rest. You look exhausted." Then he was gone, leaving Zara's heart hammering and her wolf whining with confusion. Lady Cassandra appeared on the 4th day. Zara was changing Lissa's diaper, a task she'd quickly become expert at, when the nursery door opened and a woman who could have been carved from ice walked in. She was beautiful in the way weapons were beautiful, all sharp edges and cold perfection. Platinum blonde hair fell in perfect waves. Her dress probably cost more than Zara's entire pack had earned in a year, and her eyes, pale gold, almost amber, swept over Zara with the kind of disdain usually reserved for something scraped off a shoe. "So you're the omega everyone's talking about." Zara finished fastening Lissa's clean diaper before responding. "I'm Zara, if that's what you mean." "Zara," Cassandra pronounced it like a joke. How common. "I'm Lady Cassandra Shadow, the king's cousin, and his late queen's best friend." There was a warning in those words, a line being drawn. "I'm sorry for your loss," Zara said, because what else could she say? "Are you?" Cassandra moved closer, her heels clicking on the marble floor. "Because from where I'm standing, you seem to be settling into the late queen's position quite comfortably. I'm the baby's nurse, nothing more. For now?" Those gold eyes narrowed. "But we both know how these things work, don't we? The grieving king, the helpful omega, the motherless child needing care. It's all very convenient." Zara picked up Lisa, holding the baby against her shoulder. "If you have concerns about my care of the princess, you're welcome to speak with the king." "Oh, I'll be speaking with Aldrich, don't worry." Cassandra smiled. And it was the smile of a snake sizing up a mouse. "We have dinner together every evening. We've been very close since Margaret died. Some say we'll be announcing our engagement soon." The words hit like a slap. Not because Zara cared who the king married, she barely knew the man, but because her wolf suddenly snarled with a possessiveness that made no sense. "Mine," her wolf growled. "Ours? Not hers." Zara shoved the instinct down. "I hope you'll both be very happy." "We will be, once we've cleared out the clutter." Cassandra's gaze dropped to the small bag containing Zara's few possessions. A spare shift, a comb with half its teeth missing, a small carved wolf her father had given her before he'd stopped caring she existed. "This nursery will need redecorating anyway. All of Margaret's things are so depressing." And that includes temporary fixtures that have outlived their usefulness. She left in a cloud of expensive perfume, but her message was crystal clear. Zara was temporary, disposable, replaceable, just like she'd always been. She should have expected what came next. Zara returned from taking Lissa to the physician for her checkup to find the nursery ransacked. Her bag had been emptied, its contents strewn across the floor. The spare shift was torn beyond repair, the comb was snapped in half, and the carved wolf, her father's last gift before he'd given up on her, was smashed into splinters. Zara stood in the doorway with Lissa in her arms, staring at the destruction. She didn't cry. She'd learned years ago that tears didn't fix anything. "Dada," Lisa babbled, reaching for the broken wolf. "It's okay, sweetheart," Zara murmured, even though it wasn't. "It's just stuff." But it was her stuff, the only things in the world that belonged to her. She was cleaning up the mess when she heard the whispers start. Servants passing by the nursery, their voices pitched just loud enough for her to hear. "Did you hear? The Omega's been stealing from the kitchens. I heard she's trying to seduce the king, throwing herself at him every chance she gets. Poor Lady Cassandra, having to watch some fat nobody try to take her place." Zara's hands stilled on the broken pieces of the carved wolf. She recognized the game. She'd played it before, back in her birth pack. Whispers turned to rumors, turned to truth, until everyone believed the lie. She could fight it, could go to the king, explain what was happening, except who would believe her? A nobody Omega with no status, no family. No proof? Against Lady Cassandra Shadow, cousin to the king, beautiful and perfect and already planning her wedding. Zara had learned that lesson too. Some battles you couldn't win. So she did what she always did. She put her head down, focused on Lissa, and survived. The late Queen's chambers were off limits. Everyone knew that. The king had sealed them himself the day after Margaret died, and no one was allowed inside. Not the servants, not the family, not even Lady Cassandra. Which is probably why Zara found herself standing outside those doors at midnight, heart pounding, knowing she was about to do something incredibly stupid. But she couldn't shake it. That scent of death magic she'd caught in the nursery. It had been faint, almost masked by time and cleaning, but it was there. And if someone had murdered the Queen... Zara's hand found the door handle, locked, of course. Looking for something? She spun around, expecting guards or worse. Instead, she found a young woman with kind eyes and a servant's uniform. I was just wondering what really happened to Queen Margaret. The woman stepped closer, her voice dropping to a whisper. "So have I. My name's Eliza. I was her personal maid." Zara's breath caught. Was she murdered? Eliza's eyes filled with tears. "I don't know, but she was sick for months before the birth. Weak, dizzy, couldn't keep food down. The physician said it was normal pregnancy symptoms, but..." She pulled a key from her pocket. "She made me promise something, said if anything happened to her, someone would come asking questions. Someone who actually cared about the baby more than politics. I don't understand. She had visions sometimes. The Queen. Wolf dreams, she called them. In the last one, she saw a woman with dark hair and kind eyes feeding her daughter, saving her." Eliza pressed the key into Zara's hand. "I think she saw you." Before Zara could respond, Eliza was gone, melting back into the shadows. Zara stared at the key, then at the door. Every instinct screamed this was a bad idea. Breaking into the dead Queen's chambers could get her executed. But that scent of death magic wouldn't leave her alone. She unlocked the door. Margaret Shadow's chambers were exactly what Zara expected. Elegant, expensive, untouched. Dust motes danced in the moonlight streaming through the windows. The bed was still made. Clothes hung in the wardrobe. It was a shrine to a ghost. Zara moved through the rooms carefully, not sure what she was looking for. Evidence of murder. But 6 months had passed. Anything obvious would have been found. Unless someone had made sure it wouldn't be. She was about to give up when she noticed it. A loose board beneath the writing desk. Not obvious unless you were looking. Not visible unless you knelt down at just the right angle. Zara pried it up with shaking hands. Inside was a journal, leather-bound, worn, filled with Margaret's elegant handwriting. Zara shouldn't read it. These were a dead woman's private thoughts. But the first page stopped her cold. "If you're reading this, I'm already gone, and someone has murdered me." Zara sank to the floor, clutching the journal. Her hands trembled as she turned pages, reading words that became more desperate with each entry. 3 months pregnant. The sickness is getting worse. The physicians insist it's normal, but I know my body. Something is wrong. 4 months. I can't keep any food down. I'm weak all the time. My wolf is quiet. Too quiet, like she's being suppressed. 5 months. I found wolfsbane residue in my tea. Just a trace, but it was there. Someone is poisoning me. 6 months. I'm dying. I can feel it. The baby is still strong, thank the moon. But I won't survive the birth. I know it now. I don't know who to trust. My husband is consumed with ruling. Cassandra brings me tea every day, hovering like a concerned friend. But there's something in her eyes, something hungry. The one with golden eyes cannot be trusted. I've stopped drinking anything she brings me, but it's too late. The poison is in my system. All I can do now is try to protect my daughter. The final entry was dated the day Margaret died. If my visions are true, someone will come. An Omega, with a healer's touch and a mother's heart. She'll save my baby when I cannot. Please, whoever you are, protect Lisa. The poison didn't stop with me. Zara's blood turned to ice. The poison didn't stop with me. She thought about Lisa's failure to thrive, how the baby had rejected every nurse, every feeding, screaming like she was in pain. She thought about how quickly the baby had bonded with her, how rapidly Lisa was healing. And she thought about her own symptoms, the nausea, the weakness, the bitter taste. Oh God, Zara whispered, she's still being poisoned. But how? Zara prepared every bottle herself, tasted every formula. Unless the poison wasn't in the food. Zara lurched to her feet, journal clutched to her chest. She had to get back to the nursery, had to check Lisa, The room spun, hard. Zara grabbed the desk for support, but her legs wouldn't hold her. She went down hard, the journal flying from her hands. Wolfsbane, in her system, absorbed through her skin, transferred through her milk, building up with every feeding. She'd been purging the poison from Lisa by taking it into herself. No, she gasped, crawling toward the door. Lisa needs. But her body wasn't listening anymore. The wolfsbane was shutting her down, system by system. Footsteps thundered in the hallway, the door crashed open. Zara, the Alpha King. She'd know that voice anywhere, even through the haze of poison. Aldrich dropped to his knees beside her, his hands, so large and warm, cupping her face. What happened? What's wrong? Lisa, Zara managed. Poison. Still poisoning her. Golden eyes. Stay with me. His voice cracked with something that might have been fear. Just stay with me. But Zara's vision was dimming. Her wolf was whimpering, reaching for something just out of reach. And then she felt it. Like a cord snapping into place. Like coming home to a place she'd never been. The mate bond. Oh, her wolf whispered. Him. He's ours. Zara's eyes focused one last time on Aldrich's face, on the fear there, the rage, the sudden recognition as his own wolf clearly felt the bond snap into place. Margaret, she heard him whisper, his voice breaking. Oh God, Margaret, I'm sorry. He was still in love with his dead queen, still grieving, still devoted to a ghost. And Zara, his fated mate, was nothing but a reminder of what he'd lost. The darkness took her under, and her last thought was that even fate couldn't make someone want a fat Omega. Not even the Alpha King. Chapter 3. Zara woke to silk sheets and the scent of cedar. For a moment, still half lost in fever dreams, she thought she'd died and somehow ended up in the moon goddess's own chambers. Because there was no way, absolutely no way. She was lying in a bed this soft, wrapped in blankets this fine, in a room this beautiful. Then reality crashed back, and with it, Memory, the journal, the poison, collapsing in the dead queen's chambers. Aldrich. Zara's eyes snapped open. She wasn't in the nursery. She wasn't even in servants' quarters. She was in the Alpha King's private chambers. "Oh no," she whispered, trying to sit up. Her body protested immediately, muscles weak and shaking. "No, no, no, this is bad. This is so bad." "You're awake." Zara's heart stopped, then started again, double time. Aldrich's shadow sat in a chair beside the bed, looking like he hadn't slept in days. His hair was a mess, his formal jacket discarded, shirt sleeves rolled up to reveal forearms corded with muscle. Those crimson eyes were locked on her with an intensity that made her want to hide under the covers. "Your Majesty, Zara tried to get up. "I shouldn't be here. This is inappropriate. If anyone finds out—" "They already know." His voice was rough, exhausted. "You've been here for 3 days." 3 days? Zara's voice cracked. "Lysa. Where's Lysa? Is she okay? Has she been fed? Who's been—" "She's fine. Eliza has been caring for her. The baby's been fussy, but healthy." Aldrich leaned forward, elbows on his knees. "You almost died, Zara. The physician said another hour and the wolfsbane would have stopped your heart." Zara's hands flew to her stomach, remembering. "I absorbed it. From Lisa. Through the milk. Through skin contact. I didn't realize. I know. We found the journal." His jaw clenched. Margaret knew she was being murdered. She knew about the poison, and she knew it didn't stop with her death. The room fell silent except for the crackling fire. Zara couldn't stop staring at him, at the way the firelight painted shadows across his face, at the tension in every line of his body, at the way he looked at her like she was something precious, which made no sense. She was nobody, nothing. "Why am I here?" she asked quietly. "In your chambers. Why not the infirmary?" Something flickered in those red eyes, something that made her wolf perk up with interest. "My wolf wouldn't let you out of my sight," Aldrich said, each word careful. "When I found you on the floor dying, he lost control, wouldn't let anyone else touch you, wouldn't let the physicians tend to you anywhere but here, where he could watch." "But why—" "You know why, Zara." The mate bond hummed between them like a living thing. Zara felt it now, fully awake and aware. That invisible cord connecting her wolf to his, pulling tight with want and need, and a recognition so deep it terrified her. "I felt it," she whispered, "when I was dying, the bond snapping into place." "So did I." Aldrich's hands clenched into fists. "For the first time since Margaret died, my wolf felt complete, and I hated it. Hated that my body could move on when my heart couldn't. Hated that fate would give me a mate when I already had one." Each word was a knife to Zara's chest. She'd known, of course, known he was still in love with his dead queen, known she could never compete with a memory. But hearing him say it out loud hurt more than the wolfsbane poisoning. "I understand," she said, proud that her voice didn't shake. "The bond is a biological imperative. It doesn't mean anything. I won't expect. I don't need. You can just ignore it. I'm good at being ignored." "Zara, no, really. I've had lots of practice." She forced a smile that felt like shattered glass. "I'll go back to the nursery, take care of Lissa, and we can both just pretend this never happened. The bond will fade if we don't acknowledge it." That was a lie. Mate bonds didn't fade. They either completed or they destroyed you slowly, year by year, with the agony of what you couldn't have. But Aldrich didn't need to know she was willing to endure that for him. "We need to talk about the poisoning," he said instead, changing the subject like she'd hoped he would. "You said something about golden eyes before you passed out." Right, the murder investigation. Something she could focus on that wasn't her breaking heart. "The journal," Zara said, grateful for solid ground. "Queen Margaret wrote that the one with golden eyes cannot be trusted." She suspected Lady Cassandra. Cassandra. Aldrich's expression darkened. My cousin has amber eyes, but so does Lord Thorne, my beta commander, and several other court members. Half the shadow bloodline carries the gold eye trait. But who had access to the Queen? Who could poison her regularly without suspicion? That's the problem. Margaret was surrounded by people all day. Her maids, her ladies-in-waiting, the physicians, family members, me. He dragged a hand through his hair. Anyone could have done it, and if they're still trying to kill Lisa, they'll try again, Zara finished. She's the heir. With her gone, the throne passes to the next in line. Their eyes met, the same realization hitting them both. Cassandra, they said together. She's next in line after Lysa, Aldrich said slowly. If my daughter dies, my cousin becomes my heir. And if we marry, as the court expects, she becomes queen. Zara wrapped the silk sheets tighter around herself. But that's not proof. We need evidence, which we won't find if we start openly investigating. Whoever did this has been careful for months. They won't make mistakes now. Aldrich stood, pacing. We need someone who can move through the palace without being noticed. Someone people don't see as a threat. He looked at her, and Zara understood. You want me to spy. I want you to observe, to listen, to use what makes you invisible to these arrogant bastards. His voice gentled. Omegas are overlooked in this court, especially Omegas like me, Zara supplied. Fat Omegas who don't fit the standard. Yeah, I've noticed how good I am at being furniture. That's not what No, it's fine. It's actually useful for once. She pushed herself to sit up fully, ignoring how the room swayed. I can do it. I'm already in the nursery all day, and no one pays attention to me in the halls. I'm just the nurse. Just the Omega keeping the baby alive. You're more than that? Am I? The words came out sharper than she intended. Because from where I'm sitting, Your Majesty, I'm only valuable because I can feed your daughter. The moment Lesser is weaned, I'm disposable again. Just like I've always been. Aldrich moved so fast she didn't have time to react. One moment he was across the room, the next he was kneeling beside the bed, his hands framing her face. Don't, he said, his voice fierce. Don't talk about yourself like that. Don't give voice to what those small-minded fools think. You saved my daughter's life. You nearly died protecting her from poison. You didn't even know you were taking. You are not disposable. Zara's breath caught. This close, she could see the flecks of black in his red eyes, could feel the heat radiating from his skin. Could smell cedar and winter and mate. Then what am I? She whispered. For a moment, just a heartbeat, she thought he might kiss her. Thought he might give in to the mate bond, pulling them together like gravity. Instead he pulled back, the shutters coming down over his expression. You're Lysa's nurse, he said quietly, and right now, you're our best chance at finding a murderer. Of course. That's all she was, all she could be. Zara nodded, swallowing past the lump in her throat. Then I should get back to work. The court dinner was a nightmare from the moment Zara walked in. She hadn't wanted to attend, had actually tried to argue when Eliza appeared with address and orders from the king that she was to join the evening meal, but apparently Aldrich wanted her where he could see her while they started their investigation. Or maybe he just wanted to torture her. The dress was beautiful, deep blue silk that actually fit her curves instead of hiding them, but Zara felt like a fraud wearing it. She didn't belong at the high table, surrounded by nobles in their finery, and everyone knew it. The whispers started the moment she entered the dining hall. Is that the Omega? Why is she dressed like that? Did someone let the servants eat with us by mistake? Zara kept her head high, channeling every ounce of dignity she possessed. She found her assigned seat, pointedly at the far end of the table, as far from the king as possible, and sat down, focusing on her plate. Don't react. Don't give them the satisfaction. Well, Lady Cassandra's voice dripped with false sweetness. How lovely to see you up and about, Zara. We were all so worried when you took ill." Zara looked up to find the king's cousin watching her with those cold gold eyes. Tonight, Cassandra looked particularly stunning in a gown of silver that probably cost more than a small kingdom. "Thank you for your concern, Lady Cassandra. Of course, though I must say, I'm surprised to see you here. At court dinner. With, well..." Cassandra's gaze swept over Zara's dress with thinly veiled disdain. "I suppose standards have changed." Scattered laughter rippled down the table. Zara's cheeks burned. "Now, Cassandra," Lord Thorne, the beta commander with golden eyes, said from his seat, "let's not be unkind. The young Omega has been caring for the princess admirably." "Oh, I agree. She's been adequate as a nurse." Cassandra sipped her wine. "I just question whether she belongs at the high table. Surely there are more appropriate places for the staff to eat." More laughter, louder this time. Zara's hands clenched in her lap. She could feel dozens of eyes on her, could hear the whispers starting up again. Perhaps. She started to stand, ready to remove herself before the humiliation got worse. "Sit down." Aldrich's voice cut through the dining hall like a blade. Every wolf in the room went silent. The Alpha King stood at the head of the table, his crimson eyes blazing. "Zara sits at this table because I commanded it. Anyone who has a problem with that can take it up with me directly." The threat in those words was unmistakable. No one spoke, except Cassandra, who either had a death wish or genuinely believed her position as his cousin protected her. "Aldrich, darling, I meant no offence. I'm simply thinking of propriety. What will the other packs think when they hear you're giving such preferential treatment to a common Omega? People might get the wrong idea." "What idea would that be?" "That you're being influenced by sentiment rather than sense." Cassandra's smile was poison sweet. "Everyone understands you needed someone to nurse the baby, but surely now that the crisis has passed, we can find someone more suitable. Someone whose presence doesn't embarrass the crown." Zara felt every word like a physical blow. Because Cassandra was right. She didn't belong here. She was an embarrassment, a fat Omega in a beautiful dress, playing pretend at being something she wasn't. "Get out," Zara blinked. Had the king just... Everyone except Zara, Lord Thorne and Lady Cassandra, out. Chairs scraped back. Nobles fled. Within seconds, the dining hall had emptied except for the four of them. Aldrich stalked down the length of the table until he stood directly behind Zara's chair. She could feel the heat of him, the barely leashed fury radiating off him in waves. "Let me be absolutely clear," he said, his voice deadly soft. "Zara is under my personal protection. She sits where I tell her to sit. She goes where I tell her to go, and anyone who disrespects her disrespects me." "Aldrich," Cassandra started, "I'm not finished." His hand came to rest on the back of Zara's chair, close enough that she could feel his fingers brush her shoulder. "You want to talk about what's suitable for the crown? Then let's talk about how my mate..." He stopped abruptly. The word hung in the air like a bomb. Lord Thorne's eyes widened. Cassandra went pale, and Zara stopped breathing. "Your mate?" Cassandra's voice was strangled. "Yes, my mate." Aldrich's hand moved to Zara's shoulder, possessive and unmistakable. "The bond formed 3 days ago, and before you start spouting concerns about propriety, I suggest you remember that mate bonds are sacred, ordained by the moon goddess herself, which means Zara isn't just the nurse anymore." Zara wanted to protest, to tell him he didn't have to do this, didn't have to claim a bond he didn't want just to protect her from bullies. But the hand on her shoulder tightened in warning. "Play along," the gesture said. "Right, the investigation." They needed to watch reactions, see who got nervous at the idea of an Omega rising to power. "Congratulations," Lord Thorne said carefully. "This is unexpected news." "Unexpected?" Cassandra's laugh was sharp. "It's impossible." Margaret has barely been dead 6 months, and you're claiming some random Omega as your mate? What about your grief? What about your loyalty to your dead wife? Don't. Aldrich's voice dropped to a growl. Don't speak about things you don't understand. The mate bond doesn't care about timing or convenience. It simply is. Cassandra's gold eyes blazed with something that looked a lot like rage. This is a mistake. The council will never accept her. The other packs will see it as weakness. And She stopped herself, but not before Zara saw it. The naked jealousy. The thwarted ambition. You what, cousin? Aldrich asked softly, dangerously. Nothing. Cassandra stood, her chair scraping back. Congratulations on your mate bond. I'm sure you'll both be very happy. Excuse me. She fled, leaving just the three of them. Lord Thorne cleared his throat. Your Majesty, if I may, this is going to cause quite the stir in court. Might I suggest a formal announcement? Get ahead of the gossip? That won't be necessary, Zara said quickly. The king he was defending me from Lady Cassandra's cruelty. He doesn't have to actually claim I wasn't lying. Aldrich's hand slid to the back of her neck, his thumb brushing her pulse point. The mate bond is real, Zara. What I said was true. Their eyes met in the reflection of the polished table. Zara saw the conflict there. The war between duty and desire, heart and instinct. Even if your heart still belongs to your dead queen? She asked quietly, just loud enough for him to hear. His jaw clenched, but he didn't deny it. Lord Thorne stood. I'll leave you two to discuss matters. Your Majesty. Lady Zara. He left and Zara was alone with her reluctant mate. You didn't have to do that, she said, pulling away from his touch, even though her wolf whined in protest. Announce the bond. Make it public. You could have just told Cassandra to back off. She needed to understand you're not vulnerable. I'm always vulnerable. I'm an Omega. That's what we are. No. Aldrich moved around the table to face her. That's what they've made you believe. But you're wrong. You're strong enough to absorb poison, meant for my daughter. Brave enough to investigate a murder that could get you killed. Smart enough to see patterns everyone else missed. Don't let their prejudices define you. Zara wanted to believe him, wanted to accept the truth in those words, but years of rejection had carved those beliefs too deep. I should get back to Lissa, she said instead, standing. Thank you for defending me. But you don't have to pretend the mate bond is something you want. I understand duty. I'll play whatever role you need me to play to catch the murderer. After that, she forced a smile. After that, we can both move on. She walked away before he could respond, before she could see the look in his eyes that might break her completely. Zara discovered she was pregnant 3 days later. She was in the nursery with Lissa, singing softly while the baby nursed, when the nausea hit. Not the gradual queasiness from the wolfsbane. That was finally clearing her system. This was different. Sudden, overwhelming. She barely made it to the basin before she was sick. Lady Zara? Eliza rushed over, concern written on her face. Are you all right? Should I fetch the physician? No, I'm fine. Just a stomach bug or... Zara stopped, did the math. It wasn't possible. She and Aldrich hadn't completed the mate bond. Hadn't even kissed. There was no way she could be... Her hand flew to her stomach. Her wolf stirred, smug and satisfied. Pup, her wolf said simply. Our pup. Oh no, Zara whispered. Oh no, no, no. But even as she denied it, she knew. Could feel it with the same instinct that had told her Lissa was poisoned. Her Omega biology, responding to the incomplete mate bond and the act of nursing the Alpha King's child, had triggered something incredibly rare. Sympathy conception. When an Omega's body, desperate to complete a pack bond, creates life without traditional mating, it happened maybe once every 100 years. Zara had thought it was a myth. Eliza, she said slowly, can you watch Lissa for a moment? I need some air. She fled to the gardens before anyone could stop her, her mind racing. She was pregnant with the Alpha King's child. A child conceived through a mate bond he didn't want with an Omega, he was only claiming out of duty. A child that would tie them together permanently. What am I going to do? She asked the empty garden. How can I tell him? He'll think I trapped him, think I did this on purpose. You're talking to yourself, that's not a good sign. Zara spun around, but no one was there. Just shadows and roses and... A figure stepped out from behind a hedge, tall, cloaked, moving with predatory grace. Every instinct, Zara had screamed danger. "Who are you?" she demanded, backing up. The figure tilted its head. Even with the hood, Zara could see eyes gleaming in the darkness. Golden eyes. "You know too much, little Omega," a distorted voice said. Male or female, she couldn't tell. "The Queen's Journal, the poison. You should have stayed ignorant." "I don't know what you're talking about." "Liar." The figure moved closer. "You're clever, I'll give you that. Figured out what everyone else missed, but that makes you dangerous." Zara's hand went to her stomach instinctively, protectively. "Please, I have a baby, depending on me." "You mean the royal bastard growing in your belly?" A cold laugh. "Oh yes, we know. Sympathy conception. How fascinating. Too bad neither of you will live long enough for it to matter." The figure lunged. Zara screamed, throwing her hands up in a futile defense. A roar shook the garden. Not human. Pure wolf. Aldrich's shadow exploded out of the darkness, his wolf fully surfaced, eyes blazing crimson. He hit the cloaked figure like a freight train, sending them both crashing into the hedge. "Zara, run!" But Zara couldn't move, could only watch as her mate fought a killer in the moonlight, all teeth and claws and fury. The cloaked figure was skilled, dodging and weaving, landing hits that would have killed a lesser wolf. But Aldrich was the Alpha King, and his wolf had scented a threat to his mate. Nothing survived that. The figure seemed to realize it too. With a desperate twist, they broke free, leaving part of their cloak in Aldrich's claws. They fled over the garden wall in a move too fast and fluid to follow. Aldrich snarled, preparing to give chase, then seemed to remember Zara. His head whipped around, finding her collapsed against a tree, shaking with adrenaline. In 2 strides, he was there, gathering her into his arms. "Are you hurt? Did they touch you? Did they—" "I'm fine," she gasped. "The baby, Lissa is fine. She's with Eliza. I just needed air." "Your scent changed." His nose was buried in her hair, breathing her in like he needed to confirm she was real. "When you screamed, your scent changed, and my wolf went insane. I ran from the council meeting, didn't even shift properly, just knew you needed me." "The mate bond," Zara whispered. "You felt me through the bond." "Yes." He pulled back enough to look at her, and his eyes were still more wolf than man. "Don't ever scare me like that again. I thought I'd lost you. Thought I'd failed to protect another." He stopped. But Zara knew. Another mate. "I'm sorry," she said. "I didn't mean to worry you." "Who was that? Did you recognize them?" "No." "But—" Zara pointed to the torn cloak on the ground. "They dropped something." Aldrich set her down carefully, then retrieved the cloth. Something fell out. A wolf mask, carved from wood, its eyes painted gold. And a note, written in elegant script. "The Omega knows too much. She's next." They stared at it in the moonlight. Proof that someone wanted Zara dead. Proof that they were getting close to the truth. "You're moving into my chambers," Aldrich said flatly. "Tonight. I'm not letting you out of my sight until we catch whoever this is." But the impropriety. Fuck propriety. His arms came around her again, and this time she felt him shaking. "You're my mate. You carry my—" He stopped, sniffed. His eyes went wide. "Zara, your scent. It's—" She'd hoped he wouldn't notice. Had prayed for just a little more time before she had to explain the impossible. "I know," she whispered. "I just found out today. It's called sympathy conception. It's extremely rare, and I swear I didn't do it on purpose. Didn't try to trap you. You're pregnant. His hand spread across her still flat stomach, reverent and shocked. With my child. I'm sorry. I know you didn't want this, didn't want me, but I'll figure something out. I won't burden you. Aldrich kissed her. It wasn't gentle. It wasn't sweet. It was pure possession, pure need, pure mate claiming mate in the most primal way possible. When he finally pulled back, they were both breathing hard. You're mine, he said roughly, my mate, the mother of my children, and anyone who tries to hurt you will answer to me. Zara's heart cracked open, because he meant it. His wolf meant it. But the man still loved his dead queen. And Zara would have to learn to live with always being second choice, even to her fated mate. Chapter 4. The palace felt like a tomb. Guards stood at every corner, every doorway, every window. No one entered or left without the Alpha King's explicit permission. The court walked on eggshells, speaking in whispers, jumping at shadows, and Zara, installed in the king's private chambers with guards posted outside her door, felt like she was suffocating. You need to eat something, Aldrich said, gesturing to the tray of food a servant had brought an hour ago. You haven't touched anything all day. Zara looked at the tray, roasted chicken, fresh bread, a salad glistening with vinaigrette, and her stomach turned. Not from morning sickness this time, from fear. I'm not hungry, she lied. Zara. Aldrich crossed the room, concern etched on his face. The baby needs nourishment. You need nourishment. You can't just stop eating. I said, I'm not hungry. She knew she sounded petulant, knew she was worrying him. But how could she explain the paranoia that had been building for the past 2 days? The way she'd been staring at every meal, remembering Queen Margaret's journal entries about getting sick after eating. The way her own symptoms, the nausea, the weakness, the dizziness, felt exactly like what Margaret had described. Fine. Aldrich sat down across from her, picked up a piece of chicken and took a bite. See? It's not poisoned. Now will you please eat? Zara watched him chew, swallow, watched him take another bite. Nothing happened. But wolfsbane could be selective. Could be spelled to react only to specific bloodlines, specific individuals. The murderer was sophisticated enough to poison a queen for months without detection. They could certainly target an omega. Zara, talk to me. What's wrong? Everything. Everything was wrong. She was pregnant with a child that shouldn't exist, living in chambers she didn't belong in, mated to a king who kissed her in moments of passion, but whose heart still belonged to a ghost. And somewhere in this palace, a murderer with golden eyes was planning her death. I need to check on Lissa, she said instead, standing. I haven't seen her since the attack. The guards reported she's fine. Eliza has been with her constantly. I need to see for myself, please. Aldrich studied her for a long moment, those crimson eyes seeing too much. But finally, he nodded. I'll come with you. Of course he would. He barely let her out of his sight now. Not that she could blame him. Someone had literally tried to kill her in the garden. But the constant supervision was making her investigation impossible. She needed to move freely, needed to be invisible again, needed to be the omega no one noticed. The nursery was peaceful when they arrived. Lissa was awake, playing with a stuffed wolf, her blue-gold eyes tracking Eliza as the maid sang softly. Lady Zara, Eliza brightened. The princess has been asking for you. Well, not asking exactly, but she keeps looking at the door and, oh. Lissa had spotted Zara. The baby's face split into a gummy smile, her little arms reaching out with the kind of uncomplicated joy that made Zara's heart ache. Hello, sweetheart, Zara murmured, scooping the baby up. Lissa immediately snuggled into her, making happy cooing sounds. I missed you too. She wouldn't settle last night, Eliza said. Kept crying until I brought her one of your shawls. Then she fell right asleep with it clutched in her little fist. Zara's throat tightened. This child wasn't hers. Would never truly be hers. But somehow in the past few weeks, Lisa had crawled into her heart and made a home there. Has she eaten? Zara asked. Yes, though not as much as when you feed her. The wet nurse says, I'll nurse her. Zara sat in the rocking chair, already adjusting her dress. Give us a moment. Eliza and the guard stepped out. Aldrich moved to follow, then hesitated. May I stay? He asked quietly. I haven't watched you with her in days. I've missed it. Zara's hand stilled. She'd assumed he only tolerated her presence with Lissa out of necessity, that he saw her as a convenience, not a, Of course, Your Majesty. Aldrich, he said. When we're alone, it's Aldrich. She nodded, not trusting her voice, then focused on Lisa, who was already rooting hungrily. The baby latched on with practiced ease, and Zara felt the familiar tug of contentment. This, at least, she was good at. This, she knew how to do. Aldrich settled into the chair across from them, watching. The silence stretched, comfortable and warm. You're a natural with her, he said finally, like you were born to be a mother. I always wanted children, Zara admitted, but I never thought, people like me don't usually get that chance. People like you? Unwanted omegas. She kept her eyes on Lisa, the ones who don't get chosen, who age out of the mating ceremonies and end up alone. I'd accepted that future. Then your pack left me here and suddenly I had Lisa. And now, she touched her stomach, now I have everything I never thought I'd get. You deserve it, Aldrich said fiercely. You deserve a mate who worships you, children who adore you, a pack that values you. Everything, Zara. You deserve everything. Do I? She finally met his eyes. Because sometimes I wonder if this is real. If I'm going to wake up back in my old pack, cold and hungry and worthless. If this is just a dream before I don't. He was across the room in a heartbeat, kneeling beside the rocking chair. Don't finish that sentence. This is real. You're real. We're real. But your heart is complicated, he admitted. I won't lie to you about that. Margaret was my first love, my first mate, and losing her nearly destroyed me. Some part of me will always grieve what we lost. But that doesn't mean there's no room for you. My wolf knows it. My body knows it. And my heart. He touched her face gently. My heart is learning. It wasn't a declaration of love, wasn't even close, but it was honest. And somehow that meant more. Thank you, Zara whispered. They stayed like that, frozen in a moment of tentative connection, until Lisa finished nursing and demanded attention with an indignant squawk. Aldrich laughed, the sound rusty but genuine. She has opinions, this one. She's your daughter. Of course she has opinions. Zara moved to burp the baby, patting her back gently. Lissa made happy gurgling sounds, then spit up a little on Zara's shoulder. Oh, lovely. Thank you, Princess. Aldrich handed her a cloth. Still smiling. It was nice, this domestic moment, this glimpse of what their life could be if murder and politics and dead queens weren't constantly in the way. Outside, the full moon was rising. Zara could feel it pulling at her wolf, making her restless. Lisa felt it too. The baby squirmed in Zara's arms, whimpering. The full moon always makes babies fussy, Eliza said, slipping back into the nursery. My mother used to say... Lisa screamed. Not a fussy cry, a scream of pain. What's wrong? Zara clutched the baby tighter. What's happening? She's shifting, Aldrich said, his voice tight with shock. But that's impossible. Wolf babies don't shift until at least 6 months old, and she's only... Lissa's body convulsed. Fur rippled across her skin, but not the black fur of the shadow bloodline. Golden fur, bright as sunshine. The baby in Zara's arms completed her first shift, transforming into a tiny golden wolf pup with eyes that gleamed amber in the moonlight. Dead silence filled the nursery. That's not possible, Aldrich whispered. The shadow line only produces black or grey wolves. We've never had a golden wolf in our bloodline. Never. Zara stared at the golden pup squirming in her arms, her mind racing. Golden fur, golden eyes. Early shifting, which was a trait of particularly strong bloodlines. "Aldrich," she said slowly. "What colour were Queen Margaret's eyes?" "Brown. Dark brown. Like mahogany. And yours are red. Yes? Then how—" Zara looked at the pup, then at the king. "How does your daughter have golden fur and golden eyes?" The implications crashed over them like a wave. Aldrich stumbled backward, his face going pale. "No. Margaret wouldn't— she couldn't— She was infertile," Zara said, the pieces clicking into place with horrible clarity. "That's why she was desperate to produce an heir. That's why she kept the pregnancy so private. She didn't want anyone to know because Lissa isn't mine," Aldrich finished, his voice hollow. "She's not Margaret's. She's—" "Adopted," Zara whispered. "She adopted someone else's child and passed it off as her own." The golden pup whimpered, shifting back to human form. Baby Lissa looked up at them with confused, teary eyes, not understanding why everyone was upset. Zara's heart broke. "Oh, sweetheart, it's okay. You're okay." But nothing was okay. If Lissa wasn't the king's biological daughter, the entire line of succession was a lie. The throne would pass to the next in line, to Lady Cassandra. Unless— "Aldrich," Zara's voice came out strangled, "who in your family has golden eyes and golden fur?" "Only one bloodline in the Shadow Clan, the Solaris branch. They're distant cousins. But they—" He stopped. His face went white. "Cassandra. Cassandra's mother was Solaris. Her wolf is golden. Her eyes are golden. And she was at court 9 months before Lissa was born," Zara said. Everything falling into horrible place. What if Margaret didn't adopt just any baby? What if she adopted Cassandra's illegitimate child? The door to the nursery slammed open. Lady Cassandra stood in the doorway, flanked by guards Zara didn't recognize. Her perfect composure had cracked, revealing something wild and desperate underneath. "Finally," Cassandra said, her voice shaking. "Finally, someone figured it out. I was beginning to think you were all idiots." Aldrich moved in front of Zara and Lissa instinctively. "Cassandra, what have you done?" "What have I done?" Cassandra laughed, high and brittle. "I gave birth to a daughter I was forced to give away. I watched my own child be raised by another woman. I watched Margaret play mother to my baby while I stood in the shadows, powerless." "So you killed her," Zara said. "You poisoned Queen Margaret. She stole my daughter." Cassandra's composure shattered completely. "I was young, stupid, seduced by some alpha passing through court. When I got pregnant, the family was horrified. A bastard child would ruin my prospects, they said. So they made me give her up in secret. And Margaret, perfect, barren Margaret, swooped in and took her. Took my baby and made her a princess while I had to smile and pretend she was my cousin. That doesn't justify murder," Aldrich growled. "Doesn't it?" Cassandra's golden eyes blazed. "Margaret knew. She knew Lissa was mine, and she dangled it over my head for months. 'Be grateful,' she'd say. 'Your daughter will be a queen instead of a bastard.' She wouldn't even let me hold her, wouldn't let me feed her, wouldn't let me be her mother." "So you poisoned her," Zara repeated, "and then you tried to poison Lissa, your own daughter." "I wasn't trying to kill her," Cassandra's voice broke. "The wolfsbane was just supposed to make her sick. Sick enough that Margaret's milk would make it worse. Sick enough that Margaret would have to step aside and let someone else, let me, care for her. But Margaret died in childbirth. And suddenly my daughter was dying too, and I couldn't fix it without revealing everything. Until Zara arrived," Aldrich said grimly. "She started healing Lissa, started purging the poison from her system. And you realized an Omega with healing abilities was a threat to your plans. The journal was the last straw." Cassandra looked at Zara with pure hatred. "You found Margaret's journal, started asking questions. You were going to ruin everything. So you tried to kill me too." "You're nothing," Cassandra spat. Just some fat Omega who stumbled into something bigger than you can understand. Lisa is mine, the throne is mine, and I'm taking both. She snapped her fingers. The guards with her moved forward, not to arrest anyone, but to flank Aldrich. Now, Cassandra said, her voice turning cold and controlled. Here's how this works. You're going to make me your queen, Aldrich. You're going to legitimize my bloodline and name me Lisa's legal mother. And in exchange, I won't tell the entire realm that the precious shadow heir is actually a bastard Solaris pup. I'll never. You will, because if you don't, I'll kill her. Cassandra's hand shot out, and suddenly she was holding Lisa, a silver blade pressed to the baby's throat. I'd rather she die than be raised by anyone else. She's mine. She was always mine. Zara's world narrowed to that blade, to Lisa's confused whimper, to the choice crystallizing in her mind. Stay silent, stay safe, protect the baby growing in her own belly, or fight, risk everything, save this child she'd come to love. Wait, Zara said, stepping forward. There's another option. Zara, don't, Aldrich started. I challenge you, Zara said clearly, for custody of the child, ritual combat, Omega Law, Article 7. Any Omega may fight for the right to raise a child they've bonded with. Cassandra stared at her, then laughed. You? Challenge me? You're an Omega. A weak, fat, worthless Omega. I'm an alpha-blooded wolf from one of the strongest lines. I'll tear you apart. Maybe, Zara agreed. But the law is clear. If I challenge, you have to accept or forfeit all rights to the child, forever. The room went silent. Cassandra's face twisted with fury and calculation. Fine, she finally said. I accept. We fight at moonrise. Winner takes the child. And when I kill you, little Omega, no one will ever question my right to be queen. She handed Lisa to one of her guards and stalked out, leaving Zara trembling with adrenaline and terror. What did you just do? Aldrich grabbed her shoulders. Zara, she'll kill you. She's trained, experienced, alpha-blooded. I know. Then why? Because someone has to save Lisa. Zara met his eyes. And because I'm tired of being underestimated, tired of being told I'm worthless, tired of letting people like Cassandra win because I'm too scared to fight back. You're pregnant. You could lose. I know, Zara said again. But if I don't fight, Cassandra wins. She gets Lisa. She gets the throne. She gets everything. And I refuse to let that happen. That baby deserves better. Your kingdom deserves better. And her voice cracked, I deserve better too. Aldrich pulled her against his chest, his arms coming around her like he could shield her from what was coming. Then we train, he said roughly. We have 4 hours until moonrise. I'm going to teach you every dirty trick I know. I'm an Omega. I'm not built for fighting. No. He pulled back, his eyes fierce. You're an Omega who crossed a realm alone, who faced down an Alpha King without flinching, who absorbed poison to save a child that wasn't yours, who got pregnant through sheer force of will. You're not weak, Zara. You've never been weak. Now you just need to show everyone else what I already know. Zara felt tears prick her eyes. What's that? That you're the strongest wolf I've ever met. The challenge circle was ancient, carved into the palace courtyard centuries ago for exactly this purpose. Torches ringed the perimeter. Wolves from every corner of the palace gathered to watch. Zara stood in the centre, dressed in fighting leathers that barely fit, trying not to throw up from nerves. Across from her, Lady Cassandra stretched like a cat, confident and deadly. She'd stripped down to light armour, her golden wolf gleaming just beneath her skin. Last chance to surrender, Cassandra called. Save yourself. Save your bastard baby. Zara's hand went to her stomach protectively. Around them, she heard gasps. The pregnancy wasn't public knowledge yet. I'm not surrendering, Zara said. And my baby isn't a bastard. They're the true heir of Shadowpeak. More gasps, louder this time. Cassandra's smile turned vicious, then die with them. Lord Thorne stepped forward as adjudicator. The challenge is issued and accepted. Fight until yield or death. May the moon goddess judge fairly. He dropped his hand. Cassandra lunged. Zara barely dodged, the other woman's claws missing her throat by inches. She rolled, came up on her feet, already moving. Aldrich's training echoed in her head. Don't try to match her strength. You can't. Use your size, use her expectations. Use everything they taught you to be ashamed of. Cassandra attacked again, and this time Zara didn't dodge. She dropped low, using her lower center of gravity to duck under the strike. Then she drove her shoulder into Cassandra's midsection, knocking the wind from her. Not graceful, not elegant, but effective. Lucky hit, Cassandra snarled, recovering fast. She shifted partially, her wolf characteristics bleeding through. Enhanced strength, sharper claws, faster reflexes. Zara didn't shift. Couldn't afford to. Pregnant omegas who shifted risked their pups. So she fought human, fought smart, fought dirty. When Cassandra came at her with a high strike, Zara went low. When Cassandra expected her to retreat, Zara pressed forward. When Cassandra tried to use her reach advantage, Zara got inside her guard where size didn't matter. But it wasn't enough. Cassandra was trained, experienced, strong. Every hit Zara landed, Cassandra landed 3. Blood ran into Zara's eyes, her ribs screamed, her lungs burned. You're nothing, Cassandra panted, circling. Just a fat omega playing pretend. You were never worthy of him, never worthy of any of this. And there it was, the words Zara had heard her entire life. The belief carved so deep, it felt like truth. You're nothing, not good enough, worthless. Zara stumbled. Cassandra seized the opening, driving her to the ground. Claws wrapped around her throat, squeezing. Say goodbye, Omega. Zara's vision greyed. She could feel her baby's heartbeat fluttering against her own. Could hear Lisa crying somewhere in the crowd. Could sense Aldrich straining against the challenge rules that forbade interference. You're nothing. No. Zara's wolf rose up with a fury she'd never felt before. Not the timid, overlooked omega everyone expected. A mother wolf, a mate protecting her pack, an omega pushed too far. We are everything. Her wolf snarled. Power exploded through Zara's body. Not alpha power, something different, something older. The kind of strength that came from surviving when everyone said you couldn't. From loving when everyone said you shouldn't. From fighting when everyone said you wouldn't. Omega power, the power of the survivors. Zara's hand shot up, catching Cassandra's wrist, squeezed, broke the hold. Then she twisted, throwing all her weight into it, using the momentum to flip their positions. Now she was on top. Now Cassandra was gasping. I am not nothing, Zara said, each word deliberate. I am the wolf who saved a dying child. I am the woman who solved a murder everyone else missed. I am the Omega who will raise the next generation of this pack. And I am the mate of the Alpha King. She grabbed Cassandra's shoulders, slammed her into the ground hard enough to rattle teeth. I am worthy. Cassandra's eyes flickered with fear, real fear. Yield, Zara demanded. Never! Zara didn't wait for her to finish. She drove her knee into Cassandra's solar plexus, knocking the breath from her lungs. Then she grabbed Cassandra's hair, yanking her head back to expose her throat. Every wolf in the courtyard went silent. That position, throat exposed, dominated, helpless, was the ultimate submission. Yield, Zara repeated, or I end this. For a long moment, Cassandra struggled. Then, finally, the fight went out of her. I yield, she choked out. Zara held the position for 3 more heartbeats, making sure everyone saw, everyone understood. Then she released Cassandra and stood, swaying but victorious. Lord Thorn, she said, her voice carrying across the silent courtyard. I claim custody of the child known as Lisa Shadow, and I claim justice for the murder of Queen Margaret and the attempted murder of the royal heir. Granted, Lord Thorn said, his voice filled with something that might have been respect. "Lady Cassandra, you are hereby stripped of all titles and rights. Guards, take her to the dungeon to await trial." Cassandra was dragged away, screaming threats that no one listened to, and Zara, bleeding and battered but alive, found herself face to face with Aldrich. He was looking at her like he'd never really seen her before. "You won," he said, wonder in his voice. "You actually won. I told you." Zara tried to smile, but it hurt. "I'm tired of being underestimated." Then her knees buckled. Aldrich caught her before she hit the ground, scooping her into his arms. "I've got you," he murmured. "I've got you." "Lisa, Eliza has her. She's safe. You're both safe now." Zara let herself relax into his arms, let herself believe it. The danger was over. The murderer caught. The child saved. "Aldrich?" she whispered. "Yes?" "I think I'm going to pass out now." "That's fair. You earned it." And she did, trusting her mate to keep her safe while she fell. Zara woke to silk sheets and sunlight. Again. But this time, when she opened her eyes, Aldrich was there. Not sitting in a chair across the room, lying beside her in the bed, one hand resting on her stomach, his expression peaceful in sleep. She studied him in the morning light, the harsh lines of his face softened in rest, the black hair falling across his forehead, the strong jaw and broad shoulders and hands gentle enough to hold a newborn. He was beautiful, and he was hers. "I can feel you staring," Aldrich murmured, his eyes still closed. "Sorry." "Don't be." He opened his eyes, and they were warm. "I've been staring at you for the past 2 hours. Only seems fair." 2 hours? Zara tried to sit up, but his hand pressed her back down gently. "How long was I asleep?" 14 hours. The physician checked you and the baby. You're both fine. Bruised, battered, but fine. His hand moved in slow circles on her stomach. "You scared me yesterday. When Cassandra had you pinned, I thought, I know, I'm sorry. Don't apologize for being brave." Aldrich's voice was fierce. "Don't apologize for fighting. Don't apologize for being exactly who you are." He sat up, suddenly serious. "I need to say something, and I need you to listen, really listen, because I should have said this weeks ago." Zara's heart clenched. "Okay. I loved Margaret. I did. She was good and kind, and she gave me a daughter I adore, even if that daughter turns out not to be mine biologically. I'll always be grateful for the time we had." He took Zara's hands. "But my wolf didn't go insane when Margaret died. Didn't rip apart a cloaked assassin to protect her. Didn't nearly lose control at a challenge circle watching her fight. That's just the mate bond. It's more than the bond." Aldrich's thumbs rubbed circles on her palms. "The bond is what brought us together, but what I feel for you, what I'm learning to feel for you, that's all you, Zara. Your courage, your kindness, your strength. The way you love Lisa, like she's your own. The way you've never once complained about how you've been treated, even though you had every right. The way you look at me, like I'm more than just the Alpha King, like I'm just a man you might actually like." Tears pricked Zara's eyes. "I'm more than like you." "Good, because I'm more than like you too." He leaned forward, resting his forehead against hers. "And I want to do this right. I want to court you properly, woo you. Make you fall in love with me the way I'm falling in love with you." "You're falling in love with me?" Zara's voice cracked. "Really? Terrifyingly fast." Aldrich smiled. "Is that okay?" Instead of answering, Zara kissed him, poured everything she couldn't say into the press of her lips, the relief, the joy, the desperate hope that this was real. When they finally broke apart, both breathing hard, Aldrich's eyes had gone dark with want. "There's one more thing," he said. "Something I should have done the night we discovered the mate bond." He slid off the bed, knelt beside it. Zara's breath caught. "Zara of Clearwater," Aldrich said formally, his voice steady and sure. "I, Aldrich Shadow, Alpha King of the Northern Realm, ask you to be my queen. Not because fate demands it. Not because you can nurse my child, or solve my problems, or fight my battles, though you do all of that beautifully. But because you are brave when others expect you to be weak. Because you are kind when others have been cruel. Because you see me, really see me, and still choose to stay. He pulled a ring from his pocket, white gold with a moonstone that gleamed like wolf eyes. You've spent your entire life being told you weren't enough. Weren't pretty enough, thin enough, worthy enough. And I'm done. We're all done with that lie. You are exactly enough. You are perfect exactly as you are. And I would be honoured, humbled, if you would let me spend the rest of my life proving that to you. Tears streamed down Zara's face. Yes? Yes? Yes, I'll marry you. Yes, I'll be your queen. Yes to all of it. She laughed through her tears. Though I should warn you, I have no idea how to be a queen. I barely know how to be an Omega who's not worthless. Good thing you'll have a lifetime to learn. Aldrich slid the ring onto her finger. And for the record, you've never been worthless. You were just surrounded by people too blind to see your value. He stood, pulling her up with him, into his arms. Now, my future queen, we have some things to discuss, like a coronation, a wedding. What to do about Lissa's custody? I want to adopt her, Zara said immediately. Officially, she's ours now. Cassandra gave up her rights. Ours, Aldrich agreed, his smile bright and genuine. I like the sound of that. 1 week later, Zara stood on the palace balcony overlooking a courtyard filled with wolves from every pack in the realm. She was dressed in ceremonial robes, white and gold, fitted to her curves instead of hiding them. Her hair was woven with moonflowers. The moonstone ring glittered on her finger, and on her head sat a crown. The queen's crown. Hers now. Ready? Aldrich asked, standing beside her in his own ceremonial armour. No, Zara admitted. Terrified, actually. Good. Means you're smart enough to understand what you're taking on. He squeezed her hand. But you're not alone. You'll never be alone again. They stepped forward together and the crowd roared. Lord Thorne stepped up to perform the ceremony. Wolves of the Northern Realm, I present to you your new queen. Zara Shadow, formerly of Clearwater, Omega, healer, mother, warrior, worthy. The crowd's roar intensified. Zara spotted faces in the crowd, some skeptical, some curious, some openly supportive. She even saw a few plus-sized Omegas looking at her with something like hope. I know what you're thinking, Zara said, her voice magically amplified to reach everyone. I know what you see when you look at me. An Omega who doesn't look like a queen, who doesn't act like a queen, who probably has no business wearing this crown. Murmurs rippled through the crowd. You're right, Zara continued. I don't look like the queens who came before me. I'm not elegant or graceful or traditionally beautiful, but I'm strong. I'm brave. I'm smart enough to solve a murder that stumped everyone else, and I'm stubborn enough to fight for what I love, even when everyone tells me I'll lose. She lifted her chin. I'm also pregnant with the true heir of Shadow Peak, and I'm raising Princess Lisa as my own because she deserves a mother who chose her, not one who sees her as a political tool. So if you have a problem with me being your queen, with me being fat or Omega or unconventional, you're welcome to challenge me. Silence. Then from somewhere in the crowd, someone laughed, not mockingly, genuinely. She's got spirit, that one. More laughter, applause. The tension broke like a fever. Aldrich stepped forward, wrapping his arm around Zara's waist. Any other concerns? He asked the crowd, his tone challenging. Just one, Your Majesty, someone called. When's the wedding? Next month, Aldrich announced, and you're all invited. We're going to celebrate properly, the old way, with fire and dancing and enough food to feed 3 realms, because our queen deserves a celebration as big as her heart. The crowd cheered, and Zara, standing on that balcony with her mate beside her and her future spreading out before her like dawn, finally believed it. She was worthy. She was valued. She was exactly who she was meant to be. The Omega who became queen by being brave enough to be herself. Later that night, after the ceremonies and feasts had ended, Zara found herself back in the nursery. Lisa was asleep in her crib, one hand curled around the stuffed wolf Zara had given her. "She's beautiful," Eliza whispered, standing beside Zara, "and lucky to have you." "I'm the lucky one," Zara replied. She touched her stomach, where her own child grew. "Both of them are miracles I never thought I'd get." "You know what I think?" Eliza said. "I think Queen Margaret saw this, saw you coming, saw you saving her daughter and taking her place. And I think she's grateful. I hope so." Zara stood there a moment longer, watching Lisa sleep. Then she felt Aldrich's presence behind her, his hand settling on her shoulder. "Come to bed," he murmured. "You need rest? Both of you need rest?" In a minute, Zara leaned back against him, letting herself be held. "I just want to remember this moment, this feeling, because for the first time in my life, I feel like I'm home." "You are home," Aldrich said. "You've always been home. It just took you a while to find your way here." And there in the nursery with the baby she'd saved and the mate she'd found and the future she'd fought for, Zara finally let go of every cruel word, every rejection, every moment she'd believed the lie that she was worthless. She was Zara Shadow, Omega Queen, mother, warrior, and she was exactly enough. The end. Thank you for listening to this story. Like, share, and subscribe for more.